The shuttle landed on the smooth white stone of the Galactic Military Academy. The doors opened, and students from a dozen different worlds stepped out into the warm Vorian sunlight. There were tall Kethrani warriors with their blue-scaled skin. There were Vexorian nobles dressed in silk and gold. There were massive Gorthians who stood nearly 8 feet tall. And there was one human girl. Alina Vasquez walked down the ramp with a small bag over her shoulder. She was shorter than almost everyone around her. Her brown hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, and she wore plain clothes that looked worn from travel. She kept her eyes down and moved quietly through the crowd of students who were laughing and greeting each other. A Vexorian prince named Xyleth watched her pass. He turned to his friends and laughed. "Look at that. They actually let a human into the academy. I thought this was supposed to be an elite school." His friends laughed with him. Alina heard them but did not respond. She simply kept walking toward the registration building. The Galactic Military Academy is the most famous training school in the known universe. Only the best students from the strongest species were accepted. Humans had never been allowed before. They were considered too weak, too fragile, and too young as a species. But this year, the Human Alliance had finally earned a single spot, and Alina Vasquez had been chosen to fill it. Commander Torvac stood at the front of the orientation hall. He was a Kethrani veteran with scars across his face and medals on his chest. He had fought in 3 wars and trained thousands of cadets. When he saw Alina sitting in the back row, he frowned. "Do not know why High Command accepted a human," he said to his assistant. "She will not last a month." The orientation began with each student introducing themselves and sharing their achievements. The Kethrani students spoke of hunting dangerous beasts on their homeworld. The Vexorians bragged about their strategic victories in simulation tournaments. The Gorthians described their strength training and combat medals. When it was Elena's turn, she stood up slowly. Every eye in the room turned to look at the small human girl. "My name is Alina Vasquez," she said in a soft voice. "I was a relief volunteer on Kepler 7. There was silence for a moment. Then laughter filled the hall. Relief volunteer? That meant she had handed out food and blankets to refugees. That was not military experience. That was charity work. Xylith laughed the loudest. "A relief volunteer? Did you also help old ladies cross the street?" More laughter followed. Alina simply sat back down without another word. Her face showed no anger. She did not defend herself. She just folded her hands in her lap and waited for the next student to speak. Commander Torvac shook his head. This human was exactly what he expected. Soft, weak, unremarkable. She would be gone before the winter season. After orientation, students were assigned to their squads. Alina was placed in Squad 12. Her squad mates were Xyleth, the Vexorian prince, Kira the Drelati female, and Malin the Gorthian giant. Commander Torvax himself would be their instructor. The squad barracks were large and comfortable, but Alina was given the worst bed. It was a small cot in the corner near the cleaning supplies. Her equipment was minimal. Her uniform was a size too big. Everything about her placement told her that she was not welcome here. Xyleth made sure she understood. "Listen, human," he said on their first night. "I do not know how you got into this academy, but you do not belong here. Stay out of my way, do your cleaning duties, and maybe I will not make your life too difficult." Alina looked at him with calm brown eyes. "I understand," she said quietly. "I will do my best not to cause trouble." Xyleth seemed surprised by her response. He had expected her to argue or cry. Her calm acceptance was almost disappointing. He walked away, muttering about how boring humans were. Kira watched this exchange from her bed. She was a Drelati, a species known for their curiosity and sharp observation skills. Unlike the others, Kira did not laugh at Alina during orientation. Something about the human girl interested her. Malan, the Gorthian, simply ignored Alina completely. To him, she was barely worth noticing. His people respected strength above all else, and this tiny human had none. The first week of training was hard for everyone, but it was hardest for Alina. She finished every physical exercise last. Her combat scores were the lowest in the squad. She never complained, never asked for help, and never made excuses. She simply did what she was told and accepted every criticism in silence. Commander Torvax pushed her harder than the others, hoping she would quit. Faster, human. My grandmother moves faster than you, and she has been dead for 30 years. Alina did not respond to his insults. She just tried again, and again, and again. By the end of the first week, most students had forgotten about the human transfer. She was background noise, a minor curiosity that had already become boring. She was no threat to anyone and no help to her squad. But Kira noticed something strange. On the 7th night, Kira woke up in the middle of the night to get water. She expected everyone to be asleep. But Alina was sitting by the window, staring out at the stars. She had not moved for hours. Kira studied Alina's face in the starlight. The human's expression was different from anything Kira had seen before. During the day, Alina looked gentle and shy. But now, in the darkness, her face was hard. Her eyes were distant. There was something heavy in her gaze, something that did not match her soft voice and polite manner. Kira had seen that expression before. Her own father had come home from war with that same look. It was the expression of someone who had seen things they could never forget. It was the expression of a survivor. Kira quietly returned to her bed, but she could not sleep. She kept thinking about the human girl by the window. Relief volunteers did not have eyes like that. Students who had never seen combat did not sit awake at night staring at the stars as if they were searching for something lost. There was more to Alina Vasquez than anyone knew. Kira was certain of it, and she was determined to find out the truth. In the darkness, Alina continued her silent watch. Somewhere out there, among those countless stars, was a planet called Kepler 7. And on that planet were the graves of everyone she had ever loved. She had come to this academy to start over, to be normal, to forget, but some things could never be forgotten. And some wounds never truly healed. 2 weeks passed at the Galactic Military Academy. Alina Vasquez remained at the bottom of every ranking. She was the slowest runner, the weakest fighter, and the quietest voice in every discussion. Most students had stopped noticing her completely. She was invisible. Zilith, the Vexorian prince, had made it his personal mission to remind Alina of her place. Every morning, he assigned her extra cleaning duties. Every evening, he made jokes about her at dinner. He called her the charity case and the human mistake. Alina never argued. She simply nodded and did whatever he asked. This only made Zilith angrier. He wanted to see her cry. He wanted to see her break. But she gave him nothing. "What is wrong with you?" He demanded one night. "Do humans not have pride? Do you not care that everyone laughs at you?" Alina looked at him with her calm brown eyes. "I am here to learn," she said softly. "That is all that matters to me." Zilith threw his hands up in frustration and walked away. There was no satisfaction in bullying someone who refused to react. Kira continued to watch Alina carefully. The Drolati girl had not forgotten what she saw that first night. Alina still did not sleep properly. She still sat by the window in the darkness, staring at the stars with that haunted expression. During a group strategy class, the squads were given a simulation exercise. They had to plan an attack on an enemy base using limited resources. Commander Torvax watched from the side as each squad debated their approach. Squad 12 gathered around a holographic map. Zilith immediately took charge. "We attack from the north. A direct assault with maximum force." Milan nodded his massive head. "I agree. Strength wins battles." Kira studied the map. The north approach has heavy defenses. We would lose half our forces before reaching the base. "Losses are acceptable," Zilith said dismissively. "Victory is what matters." Alina stood at the edge of the group, silent as always. But Kira noticed her eyes moving across the map. She was studying every detail with intense focus. "Alina," Kira said, "do you have any thoughts?" Zilith rolled his eyes. "Why are you asking her?" She was a relief volunteer. "She probably thinks we should bring blankets and water bottles to the enemy." Some squad mates laughed. But Kira kept looking at Alina. "Please, share your idea." Alina hesitated for a moment. Then she pointed to a small valley on the eastern side of the map. "There is a drainage tunnel here. It is not marked as an entrance, but the water has to go somewhere. If a small team entered through this tunnel, they could disable the power grid from inside. The defenses would fall. The main force could then enter without resistance. There was silence. Xyleth stared at her, then laughed loudly. A drainage tunnel? You want us to crawl through enemy sewage like rats? That is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. He turned to the squad. We do the northern assault. That is my decision. Elena said nothing more. She stepped back and let Xyleth lead. The simulation began. Squad 12 attacked from the north, just as Xyleth planned. Within minutes, they were destroyed by the heavy defenses. They lost the exercise in record time. Xyleth blamed everyone except himself. He blamed Malin for being too slow. He blamed Kira for not providing enough support fire. He even blamed Elena for existing. The squad accepted his anger in frustrated silence. That night, Commander Torvax sat alone in his office. He reviewed the simulation recordings from all the squads. When he reached Squad 12, he watched their planning session carefully. He saw Elena's suggestion about the drainage tunnel. Curious, he ran her strategy through the simulation. The results shocked him. Elena's plan would have worked perfectly. The tunnel was exactly where she said it would be. A small team could have entered, disabled the power grid, and opened the base for a complete victory. Her strategy would have given Squad 12 fastest completion time in the history of this exercise. Torvax leaned back in his chair. How did a relief volunteer see something that trained military students missed? How did she know to look for a drainage tunnel that was not even on the official map? He pulled up Elena's transfer file on his computer. Most of the information was basic. Name, age, homeworld. But there was a large section marked with red text. Classified. Access restricted by Human Alliance Authority. Torvax frowned. Classified files were reserved for high-level military personnel. Spies. Special forces. War heroes. Why would a relief volunteer have classified information in her record? He sent a request to the human embassy on Voria, asking for an explanation. The response came within an hour. It was only one sentence. Lena Vasquez requested a quiet life. Please respect her wishes. This answer told Torvax nothing, but it also told him everything. Normal students did not have classified files. Normal students did not have embassies protecting their privacy. Normal students did not see tactical opportunities that experienced commanders missed. Elena Vasquez was not normal. She was hiding something. Torvax made a decision. He would request a full security clearance from Galactic High Command. Whatever was hidden in that file, he needed to know the truth about the human girl and his squad. He sent the request that night. The response would take a few days to process. Until then, he would watch Elena more carefully. In the barracks, Elena sat by her window again. Kira pretended to sleep, but watched her through half-closed eyes. The human girl's hands were shaking slightly. Her breathing was too controlled, too deliberate. She was fighting something inside herself, Kira whispered. Are you all right? Elena turned. For just a moment, her mask slipped. Kira saw fear and sadness and something darker beneath. Then the gentle expression returned. I am fine, Elena said softly. Just thinking about home, Kira wanted to ask more questions. She wanted to know what happened on Kepler 7. She wanted to understand why a relief volunteer had the eyes of a soldier. But Elena turned back to the window, and the conversation was over. 3 days later, Commander Torvax received a notification. His security request had been approved. The full classified file on Elena Vasquez was now available for his review. He opened the file and began to read. By the third paragraph, his hands were trembling. By the end of the first page, he had to stand up and walk around his office just to calm his racing heart. Everything he thought, he knew about the quiet human girl was wrong. Everything everyone believed about her was a lie. Elena Vasquez was not a relief volunteer. She was a legend. Commander Torvax read the classified file 3 times. Each time he hoped he had misunderstood something. Each time the words remained the same. The truth about Elena Vasquez was almost impossible to believe. 4 years ago, a human colony on Kepler 7 had been attacked by the Wraith Swarm. The Wraith were the most terrifying species in the galaxy. They were insectoid creatures that moved in massive numbers, consuming everything in their path. They had no mercy, no diplomacy, and no fear. When the Wraith attacked a planet, nothing survived. The colony on Kepler-7 had no military base. It was a farming settlement with families, children, and elderly people. When the Wraith ships appeared in the sky, everyone knew they were going to die. But they did not die. Because of one girl, Alina Vasquez was 15 years old when the attack began. Her parents were killed in the first wave. Her brother died protecting their younger sister. Within hours, Alina had lost almost everyone she loved. But she did not break. She did not hide. She did not wait for death. The file described what happened next in cold military language. Alina had gathered the surviving colonists and led them to a water treatment facility on the edge of the settlement. The building had thick walls and only 2 entrances. It was not meant to be a fortress, but Alina turned it into one. For 11 days, she held that position. She organized the survivors into teams. She created weapons from farming equipment and cleaning supplies. She set traps using water pipes and electrical systems. She slept only in short bursts, never more than an hour at a time. The Wraith attacked constantly. They sent wave after wave of drones against the facility. Each time Alina was ready. She had studied their movement patterns. She had learned their weaknesses. She had figured out that they communicated through sound and found ways to confuse their signals. Torvax read the combat statistics and felt his blood run cold. Confirmed kills: 347 Wraith drones. That number alone was extraordinary. Most trained soldiers never killed more than a dozen Wraith in their entire careers, but that was not the most impressive part. Alina had killed 3 Wraith queens. Queens were the commanders of the swarm. They were larger, smarter, and almost impossible to defeat. In the entire history of Wraith encounters, fewer than 20 queens had ever been killed by non-Wraith forces. Alina had killed 3 of them in 11 days. She was 15 years old. The tactical maneuver she invented during the siege was now taught at human military academies across the galaxy. It was called the Vasquez Corridor. It involved creating a narrow passage that forced Wraith to attack in single file, removing their advantage in numbers. The technique had saved thousands of lives since then. When rescue ships finally arrived, they expected to find a massacre. Instead, they found 200 survivors behind walls covered in the remains of dead Wraith. And they found a teenage girl standing at the entrance covered in black blood, still holding a weapon made from a broken water pipe. Alina Vasquez received the Medal of the Fallen Star. It was humanity's highest military honor. In all of human history, it had only been given 12 times. The youngest previous recipient was 43 years old. Alina was 15. The file contained one final note. After the rescue, Alina had requested immediate discharge from any military status. She asked to be listed as a civilian relief volunteer. She wanted her record sealed and her identity protected. She said she never wanted to be called a soldier again. Torvax closed the file and sat in silence. The quiet girl who finished every exercise last. The soft-spoken student who never argued back when insulted. The human everyone laughed at and dismissed as weak. She was the greatest warrior he had ever heard of. He did not know what to do with this information. Part of him wanted to announce it to the entire academy, to force everyone to see what they had been too blind to notice. But Alina had asked for privacy. She had asked for a quiet life. Did he have the right to take that away from her? Before he could decide, alarms began to sound across the academy. The warning lights flashed red. A mechanical voice spoke through every speaker in the building. Attention, all personnel. Unidentified vessels detected entering Vorian space. All students report to defensive positions. This is not a drill. Out. Torvax ran to the command center. Officers were gathered around scanning equipment, their faces pale with shock. What is it? Torvax demanded. A young officer turned to him with terrified eyes. Sir, we have confirmed identification of the vessels. He swallowed hard. They are Wraith. The word spread through the academy like fire. Wraith. the swarm that had not been seen in this sector for decades, the nightmare that parents used to frighten their children. They were here in the barracks of Squad 12. The students woke to the sound of alarms. Xyleth jumped from his bed, his face pale. Malin reached for a weapon that was not there. Kira grabbed her equipment with shaking hands. Only Alina remained still. She stood by the window, looking up at the sky. Her expression had changed completely. The gentle mask was gone. In its place was something cold and sharp and absolutely terrifying. Kira watched Elena's transformation with wide eyes. This was not the quiet girl who accepted insults in silence. This was someone else entirely. Someone dangerous. Alina turned from the window. When she spoke, her voice was different. It was still soft, but there was iron beneath the softness now. "They are here," she said simply. "The swarm has come." Sleth stared at her. "How do you know what they are?" "You have never seen I know exactly what they are," Alina interrupted. It was the first time she had ever cut someone off. "I know how they move, how they think, and how they die." She walked to her small storage locker and pulled out her worn bag. From inside, she removed something wrapped in cloth. When she unwrapped it, Kira saw a medal. A star made of silver and gold, stained with old black marks that would not wash away. The Medal of the Fallen. Star Kira had seen pictures of it in history books. She had never seen one in person. They were too rare, too sacred. Alina, Kira whispered. "What happened on Kepler 7? Alina looked at the medal for a long moment. When she raised her eyes, they were filled with a terrible mixture of grief and rage. "Everything," she said. "Everything happened on Kepler 7. She put the medal back in her bag and turned toward the door. Outside, the alarms continued to wail. Students ran through the corridors in panic, but Alina walked with perfect calm. She had been here before. Not in this place, but in this moment. The Wraith had come for her people once. They had taken everything from her. She would not let them take anything more. The academy descended into chaos. Students ran through corridors without direction. Officers shouted orders that no one followed. The alarms screamed their endless warning while outside. The sky grew dark with approaching Wraith vessels. Commander Torvax's voice cut through the noise. "All squads, 2 defensive positions. Instructors will handle the primary engagement. Cadets are responsible for protecting civilians and younger students. This is not a simulation. This is real." Squad 12 gathered in the eastern corridor. Xyleth was trying to take command, but his voice shook with fear. He had never seen real combat. None of them had. Except one. Alina stood apart from the group, her eyes scanning the windows and doorways. She was counting exits, measuring distances, calculating angles. Her mind was already in battle mode. "We should barricade ourselves in the main hall," Xyleth said. "Wait for the instructors to handle this." "No," Alina said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. It was the first time she had directly contradicted Xyleth. "The main hall has too many windows," she continued. "Too many entry points. When the Wraith breach the outer defenses, they will swarm through every opening. We need somewhere with limited access." Xyloth's face turned red. "Who do you think you are? You are the weakest member of this squad. You have no right to." A window shattered somewhere nearby. The sound of clicking and scratching filled the air. It was a sound that Alina knew better than her own heartbeat. The Wraith drones were inside the building. Milan grabbed his weapon, a heavy training staff. "What do we do?" Everyone looked at Xyleth. He stood frozen, his mouth open, but no words coming out. His royal training had not prepared him for this. Nothing could prepare anyone for their first encounter with the swarm. Kira made a decision. She turned to Alina. "You know these creatures. Tell us what to do." Alina did not hesitate. The gentle mask fell away completely. What remained was someone forged in fire and blood, someone who had survived the unsurvivable. "Stay behind me," she commanded. Her soft voice carried more authority than Xyleth's shouting ever had. "Breathe slowly. Control your fear. The Wraith hunt by sensing panic. If you are calm, they cannot track you as easily." She moved to the front of the group. We go to the water treatment room on the lower level. Small doors, thick walls, only 2 entrances. We can hold that position. How do you know this building has a water treatment room? Mullen asked. Every building has one, Alina replied. I always check on the first day. She led them through the corridors with silent precision. Her footsteps made no sound. Her movements were fluid and controlled. She stopped at corners, listened for clicking sounds, and chose their path to avoid contact. Along the way, they gathered supplies. Alina grabbed cleaning chemicals, electrical cables, and metal pipes. When Xyleth asked what she was doing, she did not answer. There was no time for explanations. They found a group of younger students hiding in a classroom, crying with terror. Elena's expression softened for just a moment. Come with us, she said gently. I will keep you safe. The children followed her without question. There was something in her voice that made them trust her completely. The water treatment room was exactly where Alina expected. She directed everyone inside and immediately began working. She mixed chemicals to create smoke bombs. She rigged electrical cables across the doorways. She bent metal pipes into weapons and handed them to her squad mates. These are the weak points, she said, pointing to her own body. The joints between their armor plates, the soft tissue around their eyes. Hit these spots and they go down. Seleth finally found his voice. How do you know all this? Who are you really? Before Alina could answer, the clicking grew louder. Through the small window in the door, they could see dark shapes moving in the corridor. The Wraith had found them. They cannot break through both doors at once, Alina said. I will hold the east entrance. Milan, you take the west. Kira, protect the children. Xyleth, watch for any that get past us. Xyleth wanted to argue, but the words died in his throat. This was not the girl he had mocked for weeks. This was a warrior, leader, someone who had done this before. The first Wraith drone broke through the east door. It was a nightmare made flesh. A creature of black armor and razor limbs, with eyes that reflected no light and a mouth that opened sideways. It moved faster than anything that Sai should be able to move. Alina met it without fear. She ducked under its first strike and drove, her metal pipe into the joint beneath its arm. Black blood sprayed across her face. The drone screamed, a high-pitched sound that hurt everyone's ears. Alina did not flinch. She twisted the pipe and struck again, finding the soft tissue around its eye. The drone fell. Alina was already moving to face the next one. Kira watched in shock as Alina fought 3 drones at once. She moved like water, flowing around their attacks, finding their weak points with terrible precision. She was not just surviving. She was hunting. Malin held the west door with brute strength, swinging his staff in wide arcs that kept the drones back. But Elena's technique was different. Every movement was efficient. Every strike was lethal. She wasted nothing. The battle seemed to last forever. In reality, it was only minutes. Alina killed 7 drones. Malin killed 2. The rest retreated, confused by their losses, but the clicking sounds did not stop. They grew deeper, slower. The pattern changed. Elena's face went pale. Everyone get back, she whispered. What is it? Kira asked. A queen drone. The commander unit? It is coming to see what killed its soldiers. The east door exploded inward. What came through was twice the size of the other drones. Its armor was thicker. Its limbs were longer. Its eyes burned with something that might have been intelligence. The queen saw Alina and stopped. It tilted its head, studying her. Something passed between them. Recognition. Alina spoke in a series of clicks and hisses. The language of the swarm. Words she had learned during 11 days of endless combat. The queen responded. Its voice was like bones breaking. What are you saying to it? Malin demanded. I am challenging it, Alina said. Their queens must answer direct challenges. It is their law. The queen's mandibles opened wide. It accepted. Alina turned to Malin. When I move, get everyone out through the west door. Do not look back. Do not wait for me, Alina. You cannot fight that thing alone, Kira protested. Alina smiled. It was a sad smile, full of old pain. "I have done it before." She raised her metal pipe. The queen lowered into an attack stance. The room fell silent. Then Alina screamed. It was not a cry of fear. It was a battle cry that came from somewhere deep inside her, sound that carried for years of grief and rage and unbreakable determination. The sound echoed through the corridors and reached every corner of the academy, somewhere far away. Commander Torvax heard it. He stopped fighting and looked toward the source of that terrible, beautiful sound. He knew whose voice that was. Alina. Vasquez charged the Wraith Queen with nothing but a metal pipe and the fury of a survivor who refused to let her people die. The fight between Alina and the Wraith Queen was something none of them would ever forget. Malin tried to help, but Kira held him back. She understood somehow that this was personal. This was between Alina and the swarm that had taken everything from her. The Queen was faster than its soldiers. Its armor was thicker. Its strikes carried enough force to shatter bone. Any normal person would have died in the first exchange, but Alina was not a normal person. She moved with a grace that seemed impossible. Every attack from the Queen missed by inches. Every counter from Alina found a weak point. She had spent 11 days learning how these creatures fought. She knew their patterns better than she knew her own name. The Queen slashed at her head. Alina dropped low and drove her pipe into the joint of its leg. The Queen stumbled. Alina was already moving to its blind side, striking at the soft flesh behind its arm. Black blood sprayed across the walls. Kira ushered the younger students out through the west door. They did not want to leave, but she pushed them forward. "Go. Find Commander Torvax. Tell him where we are." Xyleth stood frozen by the door, watching the battle. He had called Alina weak. He had called her a charity case. He had laughed at her for being a relief volunteer. Now he watched her fight a creature that appeared in his nightmares. She was winning. The Queen screamed in rage and pain. It was not used to being hurt. It was not used to prey that fought back. This human was different. This human was dangerous. Alina was bleeding from a cut on her shoulder. Her movements were slowing. She had not slept properly in weeks. Her body was reaching its limits, but her eyes remained focused. Her will remained unbroken. She spoke to the Queen again in that clicking language. Kira did not understand the words, but she understood the tone. Alina was taunting it, making it angry, making it careless. The Queen charged with all its strength. Alina did not dodge. She planted her feet and raised her pipe like a spear. At the last moment, she dropped to her knees and slid beneath the Queen's attack. Driving her weapon upward into the soft tissue of its throat, the Queen's momentum carried it forward, pushing the pipe deeper. Black blood poured from the wound. The creature made a horrible gurgling sound and collapsed, its legs folding beneath it. Alina pulled her weapon free and stood over the dying Queen. She was covered in blood, her own and its. Her breathing was heavy. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady when she spoke. "That was for Kepler-7," she whispered. "That was for my family." The Queen died. Without their commander, the remaining Wraith drones fell into confusion. They scattered through the academy without direction, easy targets for the instructors and defensive systems. Within an hour, the attack was over. The reinforcement fleet arrived and drove the Wraith ships away from Vorian space. Alina collapsed in the water treatment room. She was not injured badly, but she was exhausted in ways that went beyond physical tiredness. For years of hiding, of pretending to be ordinary, of suppressing the soldier inside her, it had all come apart in a single night. When she opened her eyes, she was in the medical bay. Her squad mates were sitting around her bed. Even Xyleth was there, his arrogant expression replaced by something that might have been shame. "How long was I asleep?" Alina asked. 3 days, Kira said. "You needed it." Alina looked at her hands. They were clean now, but she could still feel the black blood on them. She wondered if that feeling would ever go away. Malin spoke first. His deep voice was unusually gentle. "Commander Torvax told us everything. About Kepler-7. About what you did there. About who you really are." Lena closed her eyes. "I asked them to keep it secret." "Why?" Xyleth asked. His voice cracked. Why did you let me treat you like that? Why did you let everyone laugh at you? You are a hero. You are a legend. Lena looked at him for a long moment. Because I did not want to be a legend, she said. I wanted to be normal. I wanted to go one day without remembering the sound of my mother screaming. I wanted to sleep without seeing their faces. Tears ran down her cheeks. It was the first time any of them had seen her cry. I killed 347 of them, she continued. I remember every single one. Every strike, every death. I was 15 years old. I should have been worrying about school and friends and growing up. Instead, I learned how to kill. I learned how to survive. And I learned that some things break you in ways that cannot be fixed. Kira took Elena's hand. You saved 200 people on Kepler-7. You saved all of us here. You are not broken. You are the strongest person I have ever met. The door opened. Commander Torvax entered, followed by an officer wearing the symbols of Galactic High Command. Elena Vasquez, the officer announced. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I am here to offer you an immediate promotion to instructor rank. Your experience and abilities are desperately needed. The Wraith are returning to this sector, and we need leaders who know how to fight them. Alina sat up slowly. Everyone waited for her response. No, she said quietly. The officer blinked in surprise. No, I came here to learn, not to teach. I came here to be a student, not a soldier. I will help train others if they ask, but I will not take a military rank. I will not become a weapon again. Commander Torvax stepped forward. What do you want, Alina? She thought about the question carefully. I want to finish my education. I want to sit in classrooms and learn things that have nothing to do with war. I want to make friends who see me as Alina, not as the girl from Kepler-7. She looked at her squad mates. I want to prove that humans can be more than just survivors. We can be healers and teachers and builders too, not just warriors. The officer looked at Torvax, who nodded slowly. Her request will be honored. There was one more thing. The Galactic Council wanted to hold a public ceremony to recognize Elena's actions. She refused that too. But she did accept one thing. A small memorial was built in the Academy Gardens. It listed the names of everyone who died on Kepler-7. Elena's family, her friends, her neighbors, all the people she could not save. She visited the memorial every evening, placing flowers and speaking softly to names that no one else knew. Months passed. Life at the Academy returned to normal. Alina still finished her exercises last. She still spoke softly and rarely argued. But now everyone understood what lay beneath that gentle surface. One evening, Kira found Alina sitting by the memorial. Can I ask you something? Alina nodded. Double quotes. Will you ever tell us the full story? Everything that happened during those 11 days? Alina looked at the names carved in stone. Her family. Her whole world? Maybe someday, she said. When it hurts a little less? Kira sat beside her. They watched the stars come out together. In military academies across the galaxy, instructors updated their tactical databases. A new entry was added to the most important strategies of the century, the Vasquez Corridor. Invented by a 15-year-old girl who refused to let her people die, and in the footnotes of that entry, single edition appeared. Specialist Elena Vasquez is currently enrolled as a student at the Galactic Military Academy. Boria. She has requested civilian status and privacy. By order of Galactic High Command, this request will be honored. The soft-spoken girl who shocked everyone remained just that. A student. A learner. A young woman trying to build a new life from the ashes of the old one. But those who knew her understood the truth. Behind those gentle brown eyes lived a warrior who had faced the darkness and won. And if the darkness ever returned, she would face it again. Because that was what humans did. They survived. They adapted. They protected each other. And they never, ever gave up.